Hey, what's up guys, and welcome back to Anime King 3, and I'm back with a brand new series for you guys to enjoy. What if Naruto was the reincarnation of Cid from Eminence and Shadow? If you guys haven't heard of that anime or you don't watch it guys, I suggest that you go ahead and check it out because it's pretty awesome. And the main character is pretty badass. His name is Cid. He possesses an untold amount of abilities which is going to be transferred over into the Naruto universe. After all, Naruto is his reincarnation. Just a few examples. He has magical abilities that is able to push his body to superhuman levels, beyond what anyone can reach. At the age of 10-year-old, he was lifting giant boulders with one single finger, not to mention the ultimate attack that he called I Am Atomic. That is basically a nuclear blast that could incinerate everything. And there's many more guys. So yeah, sit back, relax, and yeah, enjoy. So let's jump right into this. Begin now guys. We begin this episode in a large open forest where there was a camping settlement. There was many tents around. There was many people going around the camp. The camp was in a secluded area of said forest. There was a rather large man. He seemed to be around 6 feet 8 inches. He was tall, overly muscular. There was a scar on his chin. 2 deep curved slashes that was embedded into his skin and scarred there. He had dark hair and dark eyes, which were rather small and beady, giving him a rather intimidating appearance, and his overwhelming size also made him look quite scary. However, now he had a large bottle of rather expensive alcohol in his hand. His other hand was going through a large chest that contained many items, scrolls, and also money, all sort of things inside, all of them seemingly valuable. There was a grin on his face, a happy grin on his face. In front of him were several individuals, smiling as well, hoping that their boss was pleased. They were not the only one though. These tents were filled with people all around. This was a nefarious gang that has been pearling the lands of the Fire Nation. They had been staying mostly out of sight to keep away from any ninja coming after them, while they rob and pillage small villages, and it is benefiting them tremendously. They were a group of wicked, ruthless individuals. They kill, they take what they want, they burn, they destroyed. Their boss, the powerfulest one of them all, he was a former ninja of the Hidden Stone, but he made certain life choices that led him down to this path. And right now he was extremely wealthy. This is nothing that being a ninja would ever pay him. He was glad at the choice that he decided to make, and he did not care who knew that. Despite his crippling fear of Konoha ninjas coming after him if they found out about him and his gang. That is why he kept on the down low. Another raid had just proven to be rather successful, as he was the one taking majority of the profits despite him using the man in front of him as cannon fodder to get what he wants. However, in this world there is strong rule and the weak dies. That is his philosophy, and he knew that as strong as he wasn't as strong as certain ninjas out there. But he was stronger than most of the defenseless civilians that they rob and pillage from. That brought a grin to his face. My oh my. Now that's a hefty haul, isn't it? All of the men in the camp was rather stunned as a voice spoke up. It sounded unusual, not like one of them. As even the boss man turned his head towards the individual, wearing some odd clothing. He was standing there, He was wearing a black cloak with a hood attached that covered his head. There was not much that could be seen except for the lower part of his face. The upper part was hidden by the shadow. The cloak was long and extended down towards the ground, almost like it was made from shadows itself. He had on a long sleeve shirt underneath that came up to his wrists. Black gloves on his hand. There were dark blue marks running through his underneath shirt as they went all over it. All of it seemed to be combined into one. Even the black pants that had blue marks running through it as well. They were dull and almost not seeable unless you come extremely close to him. There was also dark blue bracers around his arms and legs as well, but they were under his clothing so they were not that visible. And there were more over his body that were secured under his clothing, as it was hard to see exactly who it was. The person was standing there, unbothered. Immediately weapons were drawn from all the thugs, some of them having ninja training. "Who the hell are you?" one of them asks. "Oh, me? I'm just a mere passerby, and I came to arrive to your lovely establishment after hearing all the laughter and chatters. And I must say, that's quite a lot of money you have there. And you guys don't look like the people to go and get a hard-working job. So if I had to say, you stole it, didn't you? You better watch what you say before you get hurt, you brat." One of the other men said, seeing that this individual was not that tall. He seemed to be some sort of kid, not to mention his voice did not sound that deep. Get hurt? A random common thing to say amongst a group of bandits. Oh, I'm scared, shivering in my boots. I presume that is what you expect me to say. The boss finally rose to his feet as all of his men moved away. He had something behind him, a blade, more like a long dagger, which was secured in a sheet. "I have no idea who you are, but you made a big mistake walking in this place. Now that you've seen us, you cannot afford to leave and go chatting to anyone." "Oh, I'm sorry," the person said, raising his hands. "I never knew that was a rule here." "Well, if I must, I'll take my leave." As he started to walk. "Hey," the man said, a tick appearing out of his eye. "Didn't you hear what I say? You're not leaving." The moment he said that, 3 of his goons appeared in front of the individual. "So, what now then? Are you going to give me some of the loot?" "What? Why the hell would I do that?" "Oh, it's simple," the figure said. "So I don't kill every single one of you." The boss started to laugh, causing the others to chuckle, as the individual started to laugh with them as well, causing them to stop. As the boss narrowed his gaze at him. "You think that you're laughing with us, but we're laughing at you. It seems like you're real sick in the head." As he pulled out his dagger, "I'm done wasting time with you. As I said before, now that you've seen us, you cannot afford to leave. So you die." The boss moved forward, moving at his fastest speed as he appeared in front of the individual, and swipe. Blood splattered everywhere as the individual fell backwards. As all the men around simply smirked, their boss was strong and fast. There is no way a no-name piece of garbage could ever test him. As the person was falling back dead, suddenly, his neutral face turned into a smile. "Just kidding," he said. His blood turned into a strange, slimy goo before retracting back to his body. The man quickly brought his weapon down, but his hand was not reaching the individual. That is when he noticed there was a stump there. His eyes widened as he screamed. His arm had been severed as it dropped to the side. He stepped back in utter fear. "Now where do you think you're going?" the individual said. He held his hand out as several tentacles shot forward and grabbed onto the boss. They held him up tightly in the ear and lifted him, as all the men quickly converged as fast as they could to kill this individual. "Wrong move," the person said before those tentacles extended. Body parts were ripped and torn and thrown in all different directions. The boss was a spectator to all of this as he watched all of his men mutilated and destroyed within a matter of seconds like they were nothing but garbage. He was then roughly dropped on his butt. He started to scamper away. Who are you? What are you? He said, fear coursing through him. Oh, me? You want to know who I am? Well, I suppose I can tell you. I am the thing that crawls in the darkness. I am the thing that consumed the light, that swallowed the sun. I am the one that is eternal. I am the one that is unstoppable. I am the force that swallows all. I am the empty. I am the shadow. The more he spoke, the darker the place got. As the boss was trembling, his heart was beating. It felt like it was about to explode out of his chest. I am the eminence in shadow. Fight or flight instincts took over as the boss got up, holding onto his stump as he ran for his life. Maybe he's gonna get away, the individual thought to himself as he looked around, allowing 5 good seconds to pass. Or maybe not. He held his hand out as 2 purple flames ignite in both of his palms. He then slammed them together as he closed his left eye and focused, pinpointing his target as he ran. He then pulled his left hand back over his right arm, creating an arrow out of the purple flames. A smirk came on his face before he fired. The arrow shot through everything before tearing through the boss's back. He screamed out in pain before it ignited all over him, burning him into nothingness, completely destroying him. Bullseye, the individual said, as he glanced up towards the heavens. Morning will be coming soon, he thought to himself. Not before moving towards the loot, as he looked inside. Wow, now that's a lot, he said. As he held his hand out, the purple slime dripped from his hand and wrapped around it, containing it before it sucked it away, twisting and distorting before it vanished. What else do you guys have to offer, he thought to himself, as he looked around, finding whatever he could as he took it with him. Once he was done, he jumped up in the sky. His feet did not return back to the ground. As he looked down towards the bodies that remained, he clapped his hand together once again. This time, the purple flames turned dark. They started to turn darker and darker until they were dripping. A single touch was burned away at the earth itself. He then proceeded to contain it and drop it. The moment it made contact with the earth, it spread out. However, before it could go too far, he held his hand out as a massive barrier erupted around the area. Said barrier contained the flames as it cooked and burned everything within the vicinity until it was destroyed. He frowned to himself though. Longer than expected. I'm gonna need to work on that. As he blinked away out of existence, using a technique that he called Quick Flash, as he was gone from the area. Time skip. At the hidden leaf, the individual reappeared within the leaf village, as he once again flashed away, appearing on buildings before flashing away, reappearing within alleys as he flashed away once again. It did not take him too long as he arrived towards an apartment. As he landed on the balcony, propping the window open, he simply slipped inside as he entered before closing it behind him. He then proceeded to make his way downstairs, as the apartment building was rather large. As he made his way down to the last floor, there was no one inside of any of these rooms. Finally, he arrived to the final room before he pressed his hand down on a table. A handprint, a purple handprint, was remaining. The table then split open, causing the ground beneath it to split open as well. A pulsate of power later on the ground opened up as he walked down the stairs. Slowly but surely making his way, he arrived to a gigantic room with different sections leading to different underground areas. He went to the first room. He held his hand out. The strange black slime started to drip off his hand. It turned large before, turned into a large bubble. Said bubble had something floating inside of it. It floated towards a corner before popping. The chest landed on the ground, along with many more expensive artifacts and cash and gold as well. He then looked around the room with a smile on his face to see hundreds of expensive things. One of the rooms was simply filled with cash alone. As he looked around, another room was filled with all sorts of weapons, from the simplest kunais up to the most extravagant swords and blades. Another room had weighting equipment. Another room had armor. Another room had clothing, expensive, luxurious clothing. The outfit that he was wearing suddenly started to twist before it vanished off him into a slimy mess. It disappeared out of sight, as there was no trace of it. Underneath, he was wearing black shorts. He was also wearing a black shirt as well, with sandals. He had crystal clear blue eyes. His hair came down into his face. There was a large bang that came down, hovering over his nose, and two bangs that came down aside his face. His hair was blonde, with a twinge of black in it, making it seem a bit duller than most of the Yamanakas within the village, who had blonde hair. And his hair was not spiky, instead, it lay flat on his face. He looked around at this night accomplishment before he decided to go back upstairs, sealing back off the room with his handprint. The rest of the apartment seemed standard and the building seemed common. However, when he arrived towards the center floor, which was the fourth floor, he opened two double rooms inside. The place was well lit and also expensive as well. There was a gigantic bed, a fridge not too far away from it. There was a gigantic TV that was in the wall, shaped like a scroll, the sides to be exact. There was expensive paintings that were stolen from all over on the walls. The sheet count was an expensive material that only daimyos sleep on. There was a wardrobe with different clothing inside. He went towards the fridge before opening it up as he pulled out a can. His favorite drink. He flipped over as he landed on his bed, with a content smile on his face. Tonight was a good night, he thought to himself. Time skip. The next morning, Hiruzen Sarutobi was going over a few papers in his office. The third Hokage of Konoha leaned back as he rubbed his wrist. Paperwork can truly be stressful sometimes, most times to be exact, as he thought about the recent happenings in the village. The village had two tragedies so far. First was the Nine-Tails attack. The second was the Uchiha's attack. Itachi had to do what he had to do. Hiruzen did not want it to play out like that, but Danzo, as he clenched his fist remembering what the man did. Innocent people that were there that did not deserve to die. But Danzo made Itachi jump the gun. He was going to make sure that he kept to his promise, by making sure that Sasuke Uchiha would be safe, especially away from Danzo. Speaking about safety, it made him think about the young Jinchuriki within the village. His name was Naruto Uzumaki. Naruto was an uncommon boy. Since he was a child, he seemed to be more responsive to more things than normal babies would. It was unusual. Hiruzen visited him on several occasions when he was younger, when he could not even speak yet and it almost seems like he could understand him. Naruto was a child that liked to stay by himself, and he also blended so much in the background. So much so that people around the village, yes, they remember about the Nine-Tails, but they could not keep the face of Naruto on their mind, because it's almost like he did not even live in the village anymore. You hardly saw him. He was all over, but yet you hardly saw him. Hiruzen had his people checking on Naruto on occasions to make sure that he was okay. The child was doing fine. Hiruzen just wanted him to make some friends. Every child must have friends, especially one of this age. He was 10 years old, and the friendship of the people, they will help him grow. He even spoke to Naruto teachers at the academy. It turns out that the boy was just common. He never get anything extremely high, nor did he get anything extremely low. He was balanced completely, like a coin, right in the center. He was ordinary. However, Hiruzen didn't know if his mind was playing tricks on him, because when he looked at the test scores, it almost seems like they were too ordinary. No one has ever maintained such a focused grade. It never dropped, it never go beyond. It was just straight. Many people choose to just ignore this, but Hiruzen had seen many coincidences in his life, and he was not sure that this was one. He had tried to investigate one of the times whenever he visited Naruto. But the kid was as normal as they come. Hiruzen shrugged that off. It's only a matter of time before they graduate. And Naruto will need the friendships and the bonds once he become a ninja. Time skip, Academy. Naruto sat at his usual seat up in the back. Children sat and gossiped and talked amongst themselves. He chose to ignore it all. On his right side there was a girl. She was from the Hyuga clan. Her name was Hinata Hyuga. She was extremely shy. She had poor self-esteem. And that is what made her weak. He noticed that on several occasions. As for Naruto himself, he was special. He knew that when he gained sentience a few hours after he was born. He simply realized that he was awakened. He realized he was alive. He found himself in the arms of the old man when he was a baby. He knew everything about himself. He knew that he was the Kyuubi container. Granted, he did not know who his mother and father was back then. However, that wasn't hard to find out. After he started to walk and regain his abilities, that was easy to find out. His mother was a woman known as Kushina Uzumaki, or the Red Death. She was a powerful kunoichi, specialized in Fuinjutsu and also Kinjutsu as well, and not to mention her adamantine chains. His father was a Hokage Minato no Mikaze, partly from looking like the man. Not to mention that the Hokage, given the man's background, he would not ask someone or take someone's child to seal the beast inside of. It was not hard to find out, especially with his skills. Naruto remembered himself as 3 people now. Yes, he's lived life before. Reincarnation, to be exact. His first life, he was Minoru Kagenou. He was a young boy who went to school. However, at night, he went through the streets as the eminence in shadow. However, he didn't have the capability, even though he had trained in all forms of martial arts, even though he pushed his body to the peak that he could at the age that he was. He just did not have a strong enough body. And he died by a car accident. And he was sent to a different realm, where they use magic, where he was born as Cid Kagenou. As he was able to become the eminence in shadow in that world, while being a normie in the eyes of the public. However, there were certain gaps in his memory. He did not know if it was because of this world influencing him, but there was a lot of things that he could not remember. How did he die? He remembered testing himself after seeing the capability and control he had over his body. He presumed that he would live to an age of 600 when he was extremely younger, and that would go beyond the more older he got. So he had no idea how he died. He could not remember the faces of his allies. There were certain people that were missing from his memories. Perhaps it was this world influence over him. But he did remember his abilities though. Good thing too. He was able to be reborn with magic in this world. However, it wasn't the only thing. Apart from magic, he also had chakra. At the age of 5, his magic and chakra blend together, bringing forward a new aspect of powers that he had yet to dive into. There were several things that he had to relearn. He had to strengthen his body back to the level that it once was. Yes, he was getting stronger day by day, not to mention the tremendous weights that he had on himself. But he wanted to gain the proper recontrol that he had over his body, where he could move and twist his organs inside, regain all of his abilities. He once was able to become a living nuke, and this time though, he was going to surpass that. This world had more powerful peoples than what his old world had, and here he will become number 1. However, he decided not to draw much attention to himself. He saw where that got people. Or maybe he just liked to screw around. He was always one for the dramatics. He wanted everyone to think that he was normal. When he was placed on a team, he wanted them to underestimate him. And then one day he was going to simply show them what he was capable of. It was a fun idea that he came up with some time ago. After all, he needed something to cure his boredom. It was mainly one of the reasons why. He left the village at nights, on most occasions, to do his own stuff. It was another reason why he had bought the apartment that he lived in, under a fake name, and made everyone move out and take the apartment for himself, making sure that this information would not go to the Hokage at all. As far as the man is aware, there were still people living in there, and Naruto was not in control of everything. Yes, life was good. Granted, he did not have that much friends. Not really any to speak of. Yes, he did speak to kids in the class, mostly because he was so normal. He was always the background character that spoke to the normal people. If he had to say, because of him playing the background character, the main character right now was probably Sasuke Uchiha. He lost his entire family, and he was hell-bent on gaining revenge. But he was too weak right now from what he read about this Itachi Uchiha. He made Anbu at a very young age, graduated early as well. So yes, that person would slaughter Sasuke right now. But there must be a reason why he kept him alive. Maybe there's something that he needed. But that was not important right now. And things that are not important to him, he simply ignored them. Naruto. As Naruto glanced up, his name was called by the teacher. He looked up towards him. Can you answer the question? He scratched the back of his head before he spoke. That is half correct, Aruka said. Is there anyone else that can add on to what Naruto said to give the full answer? The girl at the front raised her hand. She was Sakura Haruno. As she said the answer, Hinata, who sat beside Naruto, was confused. She could swear that she heard him murmured the answer before he was called. He wasn't even paying attention, he simply was talking to himself, and yet he murmured the answer, but when he was told to give it, he failed on purpose. As she was confused, she glanced towards him. There was not much that she knew about this individual, and he kind of scared her. He was always so, well, she didn't know how to put it. Bland, always away. It was just strange. Well, a lot of people scared her, but he was just, well, he confused her to say most. But there was some fear there as well, as she didn't realize she was staring at him. He turned towards her. Can I help you? He said. No, she said as she looked away. Her face read that she got caught, as she did not look at him for the rest of the class. Later that night, there was a massive bear that had its teeth locked on Naruto's sides as it ran him into a tree. One might ask what he was doing in this situation. Well, it was training. Before he could reach a tree though, he stopped himself as he stomped his foot in the earth, tearing it apart as he did so. He then pushed forward and grabbed the bear by its waist. His arms were short, but he was still able to grab onto its flesh. The bear's eyes widened as Naruto lifted it off the ground. Before he jumped, he then came back down and slammed it in the earth. Its body stopped moving instantly. Naruto then looked down toward his sides, as he had gaping holes that were torn into his flesh. He left himself completely vulnerable on spikes. Some might say that he was crazy, and maybe he was a bit crazy. However, he found it to be the best way to get stronger, as he was heavily restricted. There were several black wristbands around his arm, several on each arm, coming up to a total of 14, and there were several of them on his legs as well. So in all there were 28. All of those were weights that were extremely weighing him down. As he turned, the ground beneath him exploded. He seemed to have pissed off the animals really badly, as a gigantic centipede came out. Alright, so you're next, said Naruto. Hours later, Naruto was lying down, in blood and guts. Around him there was hundreds of spiders. Not to be exaggerating or anything, but literally hundreds. The spiders that reside in the forest had a colony that were deep situated in a sector of the forest. And there were thousands of them down there. He just messed with a nest, and they attacked him. They all swarmed him. He had bite marks, punctures all over himself. It was a good thing that he was able to train his body and also his resilience. His magic inside of him worked to erase any sort of poison. Not that he needed, but the fox was slower than how his magic worked. He was even starting to dive into the aspects of this Fuinjutsu, as he was blending it with his magic. He believed that he could reform this seal into something much, much greater for himself. As he pulled himself up, he sniffed himself. Man, I really need a shower, he thought. As his wounds started to close, he slowly made his way. It did not take too long for him to get out of the deep forest. He had made sure that no one was in there while he was. Or if someone was in there, he simply went so farther that they would not find him. It was night and the forest was deadly. Forest of death they call it. But he could take on everything in there and still live. And that was not even him being cocky. Well, he was a bit arrogant. Something caught his attention though. It was rather late in the night, but he found someone near one of the training fields outside of the forest. It was a girl in his class, the one that sat next to him, Hinata. She was sweating from head to toe as her palms strike against a training post over and over again. Over towards her, Hinata was panting as she stepped away from the post. Her father had made her spar with Hanabi today, and once again she failed. The look in his eyes, the look in all the others' eyes, as they saw her as nothing but a big disappointment. There was so much holding her back. Her whole mindset, her whole personality. Everything was so much on her and she did not even realize. As she wondered why wasn't she getting any stronger. She had to sneak out of the Haiga compound to make sure that no one saw her as she was out here training. This place was always secluded for a few hours. Unaware to her, she was being watched as she returned back to fighting. As Naruto watched her, he could see that she was pulling her attacks. And she did not even know that she was pulling her attacks. It was being done subconsciously. She was a real wreck, he thought, as he simply made his way off. Time skip. Sasuke Uchiha and Naruto Uzumaki. Mizuki called their names, as it brought a smile to his face. Mizuki was a proud hater of Naruto, because of what he was, as he saw him as a demon, like many others, constantly seeing Naruto on a daily basis because of school. It allowed him to continue to foster his hatred, as he could not wait until the day that he finally got some revenge. He would be actually hailed as a hero to the people of Konoha for getting rid of the monster. And now he was gonna watch him get his ass kicked. The girls all yelled out, cheering on Sasuke, as Ino and Sakura started to fight on who was cheering better. As the both of them got in the ring, Sasuke looked at him. That was all he said. This fight was not even worth his time. Begin, Mizuki said as Aruka watched. As both boys looked at one another. Sasuke was the first one to move in to end this, as he came in and sweep a kick towards Naruto's face as he stopped a few feet away. As Sasuke's feet was in mid-air, time seemed to freeze. Naruto stepped away from the kick, as he reached his hand out and placed it against Sasuke's throat. And then he placed it against Sasuke's heart, and then against his temple. All the ways he could end this fight in a matter of seconds. However, that would give away too much, he thought to himself, as he stepped away, placing himself back behind the kick. He brought his arms up though as he was knocked back. Sasuke looked at him impressed. Still standing, he thought. Well, it's over now, he thought, as he rushed forward. He swung at Naruto, but it was a misleading swing, as his leg came up and tripped Naruto over. As he brought his hand down, Naruto came up and deflected. He could not be dropped that easily. He wasn't that bad after all. But Sasuke overpowered him and knocked him down, as Naruto fell over to the ground. Shikamaru and Hinata watched carefully. Since day one, Shikamaru had strange feelings about this individual named Naruto Uzumaki. Shikamaru was smarter than most kids, and he was letting his guard down on majority of the situations that he came across to make him seem unassuming. It has been more than enough time now that he saw Naruto did things that just seemed plain wrong. He's also saw Naruto test score, and Naruto has kept a perfect track of being in the background from day one. Something was not right here, and just now Shikamaru could swear that he saw Naruto almost bored as he fought Sasuke, like he could predict the attacks. His eyes was on Sasuke's fist the entire time, the fist that Sasuke would throw. If not that, his eyes was on Sasuke's leg, the one that Sasuke would use and kick him. Something was going on here. Hinata was having the same thoughts as she noticed that as well. The others were focused on Sasuke, so they did not notice. As Naruto dusted himself off and walked away. Time skip. There was a war going on. Not anything too big. Just a couple of ninjas from two villages. One of the villages were the land of grass. The other one was the land of swamp. Ninjas were clashing as there was a rival going on between them. It wasn't anything for any big nation to step into, so it was unseen. And it would be quashed in a couple of weeks or something like that. They didn't have the resources to fight with one another for too long. At the moment though, Naruto was watching as he stood in a tree, high up above, as he watched ninjas clash against one another. Their movements, their attacks, he could read them like a book. He figured that he would explore more into the arts that more ninjas use, but all of this was truly pathetic. This was barely even fighting. Who taught these people, he thought to himself. As he watched, the grass ninjas were able to overpower the swamp ninjas. However, 3 of them died out of the 8 that was here. The remaining 5 was wounded as they rushed back. Naruto followed after them. As he watched backup send them back, they were told to get healed and return. Naruto raised the eyebrow at that. Did someone really have the healing ability to heal them that quickly, for them to get back on the battlefield after that battle? He was curious. As he took to the skies, using his magic, it did not take too long for him to arrive as he landed. He landed flat on the roof as he crawled. He had to make sure that he concealed himself to the point that he could not be sensed, as there was a lot of them here. Naruto held out his finger as a tiny wire came out, right out of the tip. As he slowly placed it down on top of the roof, it started to carve through the metal like it was nothing. The wire was sharp. As he made it even sharper, he caught the piece before it could fall, allowing him to peer inside. What he saw surprised him. There was a girl. Discomfort on her face as a guy bite right into her flesh. As Naruto felt what he was doing, he was sucking out her chakra. She had crimson hair and glasses. She seemed immensely sad. She was shaking, but they did not care. He even told her to hold still as another one bit into her flesh. As she screamed, she was bitten all over as Naruto watched. He wouldn't say that he was a compassionate person, but he did show mercy when he could. And right now as this girl collapsed on her back, she seemed broken, helpless. Naruto decided to help her. He has been working on something that he wanted to try, and she would make a perfect specimen. Her body was not able to sustain it for too long as she passed out. The guy inside picked her up as he brought her towards a different room, where he simply placed her down on the bed. He locked the door shut behind him. The ceiling was removed partly as Naruto slipped inside. He looked down towards her before he picked her up and he was gone, flashing away. Sometime later, the guy returned. Karin? Karin? Where the hell are you? He yelled as he couldn't find her. Time skip. She was slowly waking up. The last thing she remembered was it brought her body in a constant trembling state, knowing what was going to happen next again and again and again. And there was nothing that she could do about it. She lost her mother because of this, and she feared that she would end up in the same position as well. That is when she smelled something. She was confused. She opened her eyes as she found herself on a strange material. It feels soft. She wasn't on the ground. She picked herself up as she rubbed her eyes. The smell was amazing. Hungry, a voice said. She turned towards the person. She could not see what he looked like because he was wearing a hood and a strange black outfit. Who are you? The person that took you away from that place. Karin leaped to her feet on hearing that as she looked around. She was no longer in the hidden grass. Where am I? She said. A few hours away from that village of yours. Why did you brought me here? She said. Do you know what they're going to do to me now for trying to escape? That is what they're going to think. That I tried to run away. As she was on the verge of tears. So, you want to go back? He asked. She looked down. I don't have anywhere else to go. I'll die if I leave. But I'll die if I go back. But at least there I get to actually eat. At least there I get to actually not wind up in a place where I'll be taken by some strangers and used. They said themselves I cannot survive in the world by myself. I'm not strong. I'm weak. I'll die. My first day out. As she looked around trembling. Why did you do this to me? She said to him. He picked himself up. Now that's your problem, he said. The lack of imagination. What are you talking about? You're free now. You can do anything that you want. And don't tell me that you're weak because, well, if I fix that, there will be no problem. Fix that? I have a way to make you stronger. Far stronger than you are right now. You'll have to be trained by me afterwards though. But I think it would be a big improvement from what you are right now. As she looked at him, unsure what to say, before something came to her. Why? As he raised an eyebrow looking towards her. Nothing in this world is ever free. Why are you gonna do this for me? Why would you do this for me? He shrugged his shoulder. Spur of the moment thing, I guess. Really? She said. Are you joking? No, not really. So, you want to get stronger or not? He asked. She looked at him, unsure what to say, before he placed his hand right on her chest. Time's up, he said. Her eyes widened as she was enveloped in a bright light. Time skip. 3 years later. Naruto has gained a bit more height in the past 3 years, as he was taller than before, but he still did not stand out that much. As he arrived towards the classroom, children were already fussing and talking amongst one another. Today was a day after all, a very special day. Today was the day that they were going to graduate. Yes, it was a very special day. As Naruto stepped into the class, as he made his way up toward his seat, Hinata looked up towards him with a smile. Good morning, Naruto-kun, she said. Morning, Hinata, said Naruto, as he sat down. So, are you excited about today? She asked. As Naruto looked towards her. Well, not really. Figures, she said to him. He has not changed that much. She's known him for a couple of months now and yet, he has not changed. She knew him for a long time, but she really got to know him the past couple of months. When they first met outside the academy. Flashback a few months ago. Hinata was exhausted as she lay on the ground. She was on her back. These nightly activities were improving her slightly, but not at the rate that she wanted to go. As she was tired, she felt something as a shadow loomed over her. Hinata almost screamed as she jumped up. As she realized who it was. Naruto, she said. What are you doing out here? And here I thought you didn't know my name. What? It's just a joke. Calm down, he said, looking towards her. And what are you doing out here? He asked, as she seemingly forgot her question. Oh, I was, training, said Naruto. You saw you? Yes, I did. Curious though. Seemingly that you never took the initiative in class, but yet, out here, you're trying your best. Well, Naruto sighed as he raised a hand. You know, if you're ever gonna be any better, that whole thing is gonna have to stop. What are you, as Naruto gave her a blank look, she lowered her head. I didn't mean to hurt your feelings or anything, but you stutter way too much. If you're gonna be stronger, you're gonna have to stop stuttering. He then started to walk away. Wait! As he paused, a little smirk on his face as he turned. Yes? What about you, she said, as she was able to speak clearly. What do you mean? I've noticed you. You've noticed me? Interesting. Does that mean you like me? He asks. Her face turned crimson red. It's not what I mean. I joking again, he said, raising his hand. And what do you mean you've noticed me, to be exact? It's as it sounds, I've noticed you. You hold back while you're fighting at the academy. What makes you say that? I can see it with my eyes. Your body tense. You do not relax yourself. You actually cause yourself to be put in a situation where you're the one that is getting knocked back, even though you can fight much stronger than that. Why do you do that? I'm afraid I don't know what you're talking about. As he started to walk away. Wait, she yelled once again, raising her voice a bit higher. You're lying. You wanted to know what I was doing out here, you know. So, before you go, tell me why you're holding back. Tell me why you're not making people see how strong you really are. If I had the strength that you had, I wouldn't hold back. You don't even know how strong I am, and yet you presume that I have this overwhelming amount of strength. It's just a feeling, she said to him. A feeling, huh? He blurred out of sight as he reappeared behind her. Perhaps you're right. Hinata noticed that his whole demeanor seemed to change. He was like a different person. More confident, more relaxed, more arrogant, more cocky. He was gone as she felt two arms placed on her shoulder. Stay where you are, he whispered. You know, this is a big secret of mine. And now that you know it, I'm gonna have to get rid of you. Hinata gulped as she felt her heart. It felt like it was about to drop. What has she gotten herself into? He started to laugh as he stepped back, amused by the expression on her face. Easy, I'm just kidding. Don't do that, she said. It was amusing, said Naruto. As he started to walk away. Wait! She ran up and caught up with him. What? You already figured out. What else do you want? Your help. I want you to help me get stronger. As strong as you, she said. As strong as me. I don't think that is possible given how weak you are. She lowered her head, feeling disappointed, as he started to walk once again. However, she felt something twisting inside of her. Everyone always telling her that she's weak. She stomped her feet on the ground. Then I'll get stronger, she said. And then you will have to train me, because I'll show you that I'm not weak. She covered her mouth a moment later, as she had screamed it out. Naruto turned towards her with a smirk, and he was right in her face a second later. Hinata was baffled as she tried to step back, until his hand placed her on her waist as he held her close. As he stopped her from falling, she almost fell over. Now that's what I was looking for. That confidence that is deep inside of you. And I think I can help nurture it, so that it can come out. Do you really want me to help you? Because it's not going to be easy. It's going to be extremely hard. I don't care, she said. I need your help, she said to him. Alright, fine, he said. Hinata smiled at that, as Naruto thought it over at that moment. He would expose her to his power, but he did not believe that was fitting as of yet. First thing first, he will have to work on her. It would be a big discussion if her family saw her got so strong in a matter of days. So he was going to work on bringing up her level to an acceptable level. And then after that, he was going to start to integrate his power with her. Things were coming along better than he thought. This was now 2, he thought to himself. Karin was number 1. In the flashback, Since that day, Hinata has become friends with Naruto. He was a sensei, a mentor to her. Despite the both of them being the same age, she was blessed for his help. He was helping her be the best person that she could be, and she couldn't be any more grateful to him for that. She was getting stronger, and soon enough she would show them that she was not weak. Time skip. As it was rather easy, the test that is. It wasn't hard for Naruto to pass. Hinata congratulated him, as he did the same for her. There was one thing that she had, and it was good chakra control, so this test was nothing to her. At the moment though, Naruto was walking home, when someone called out to him. As he turned, the individual approached. "Mizuki sensei," he said, putting on a smile. "It's nice to see you too, Naruto," he said. "You ran off so quickly I didn't get a chance to speak with you." "Sorry about that. How can I help you?" "Well, this is mostly about you. It's about your scores. Turns out that few of your tests has dropped you off the list of graduation." "What?" said Naruto, faking surprise and shock. "Yes, I'm afraid that you won't be able to become a ninja." "But I passed the test." "How easy," said Mizuki. "There's something that you can do." "What's that?" "I'll do anything. I need to be a ninja." "I thought so," Mizuki said. "I mean, there is something that you can do. I want you to meet me at the forest tonight," as he gave Naruto a time. "Me and the other instructors have a test that will help you pass. Because after all the hard work that you have put in, Naruto, we don't want to see you just fail because of a few bad tests." "Really? You'll do that for me?" "Of course. You're my student," Mizuki said, a happy smile on his face. "Thank you, Mizuki sensei," said Naruto. Time skip. When people believe that you're an idiot, they tend to lower their guard around you. When they believe that you can't do much, they lower their guard even more around you. And that was their big mistake. Mizuki was trying to frame Naruto, as Naruto had followed the man. It turns out that he had a friend working in the Hokage's office nearby, and that friend was gonna help him steal the Forbidden Scroll of Secrets. Naruto had several abilities that allowed him to hear conversations that even happened far distance away from him. That was just one of his many abilities that he's learned so far back in this world. Mizuki was able to get the scroll. He wanted to frame Naruto and end up killing him. Wow, the man really hated him to the point that he was gonna frame him. There was something else that they wanted in the village though. They could not leave so quickly. They wanted more. So they were gonna frame Naruto. He wasn't sure what they were gonna do with the scroll, or how they were gonna think this was gonna work in the eyes of the Hokage. Or because of the hate, they thought it was gonna bring up some past resentment. As Naruto found it rather amusing, he had to make a little stop first. This will be perfect for her. Time skip. Naruto arrived in the forest as he looked around. 5 minutes. He supposed he could wait as he sat down, waiting for Mizuki to arrive. It did not take too long as Mizuki arrived. However, he was not alone. "Mizuki sensei." "Ah, Naruto, you made it," he said. "Come here." As Mizuki watches Naruto walk forward, there was someone behind him as Naruto paid him no mind. "Now, your test is swipe." Mizuki slit a kunai right across Naruto's throat. Blood sprayed everywhere as he watched the child drop down to the ground. A twisted smirk on his face. "It's what the demon deserved," the man behind him said with a smirk as well. He seemed to be a chunin. He was of ordinary appearance, someone that people would not even notice. He was working with Mizuki as well. Money can really get you a lot in this world. Yes, it can. As Naruto collapsed, dead, a lifeless look in his eyes, Mizuki stepped forward as he checked Naruto's pulse, not feeling anything. "I did it. I finally did it. I got rid of this damn demon," he said, a cocky smile on his face. "So it's time to put the plan in motion," the man behind him said. "Yeah, it's..." He spun around as he heard footsteps, only for something to slam right in his stomach. He was blown off his feet as he slammed into a tree. Mizuki was shocked as he spun to look towards the... Hinata? He said in shock. Hinata stood there, her palm outstretched. The other guy picked himself up with agony, written all over his face. That was a warning shot, she said. Stand down. The guy was holding on to his gut with pain written all over his face. What the hell are you doing here? Said Mizuki, pissed off that she was here. This messed up his plans. Now he would have to kill her. Well, unless he could spin this in his own way. He barely had time to react. That was good. Mizuki froze as Naruto rose up off the ground. I killed you. My death is something that can never happen at your hands. You're too weak to do so. What? What the hell did you just say to me, you little shit? Are you perhaps deaf? The other guy pulled out 2 shurikens as he launched them towards Hinata, pissed off for being struck. Hinata poked them out of the sky with her bare hands, knocking them away. She rushed towards him as she glanced towards Naruto. As she passed him, she clashed with the other guy, which was his mistake. He swiped at her with a kunai. She ducked underneath as she swiped at his legs. His whole body crumbled as his legs gave out. As his face was falling, Hinata turned and sank her feet right into his temple. His head smashed against a tree. Damn it all, Mizuki said as he pulled out a Fuma Shuriken and launched it towards Hinata's back. He had to take the both of them out. However, as the weapon was coming towards her, Threads appeared and grabbed it and launched it back towards Mizuki. He barely jumped out of the way as it sliced his arm. He landed as he held on to his shoulder. He heard something behind him as he turned with his kunai. Blade and steel met as Naruto blade sliced right through his weapon without much resistance. It tore into his left arm as he screamed out. As he stepped backward in pain, he then bumped right into something as Naruto was standing there. He tried to kick but Naruto ducked under his leg and tear right through his calf, causing him to scream once again as he collapsed down to the ground. Naruto placed his sword right at his throat. Now, said Naruto. Who's the one that's gonna die? He asked with a smirk. Mizuki was afraid. He was trembling as Naruto snapped his head to the side. Hinata, go, he said. She nodded before she fled. As her eyes was not even activated, but she also sensed it as well. Mizuki felt his body. Control loss. As he could not control himself, wires were attached to his hands and legs. As Naruto made his blade vanish, Mizuki pulled a kunai and rushed forward, confused. As he was not controlling himself, Aruka burst into the foliage. His eyes widened. Mizuki! Naruto, he yelled! Mizuki turned, giving Aruka enough time to launch a kunai. But Mizuki blocked it though as he rushed towards Aruka. As the both of them clashed. However, as they did so, Mizuki seemed to lose balance. Aruka was so focused on the fight, as he was in a moment of life and death, as Mizuki was strong and faster than before, his body moving like he had a complete awareness of his surroundings. But unfortunately though, Aruka kunai met his chest when he fell. It tore right through his heart. Aruka sensei, said Naruto as he rushed over. Aruka pushed Mizuki off him as Naruto's hand touched Mizuki's leg. There was a purple mark, as all the wounds that Mizuki suffered from Naruto rather quickly healed. He was still dead, but all the wounds like the ones on his legs and his arm quickly healed up. Before Mizuki collapsed, dead, Aruka was shocked. He thought he was going to be the one that would end up in this position, given the way Mizuki was fighting, but he slipped up and he fell. It was so strange. Naruto, you're okay, Mizuki said. Yeah, said Naruto as he looked at him. I thought, it's alright. As Aruka patted him on the head, you're safe now, he said. Thanks, sensei, said Naruto. Time skip. So he tricked you by telling you that you failed the exam. Why didn't you come to me here as an axe? I thought you were also in on it, said Naruto. I thought you would be there as well. And it was right after I left. I simply headed out there. I never knew that this was what he was going to be up to. Hiruzen sighed. At least you're okay, he said. I'm still surprised and also impressed that you were able to take down that friend of Mizuki that he had out there. Well, I guess I'm stronger than I look, said Naruto. Yes, it seems you are, Hiruzen said with a smile. As Naruto frowned. What's wrong, Hiruzen asked. Before Iruka showed up, he told me something. Why the people hate me? What did he tell you, Naruto-kun? Hiruzen said, dreading this. He said, I was the nine-tailed fox. He's lying, right? Yes, of course he is. Really, Gigi? Said Naruto. Yes, he is. You're not the nine-tailed fox. Hiruzen sighed, however. There is something I've been meaning to tell you. I figure now is the right moment for everything. What is that, Naruto asked. He lied to you, of course, that you're nine tails. However, Hiruzen stepped forward. Can you lift up your shirt, he asked. Lift up my shirt? Yes, please. As Naruto did as he was told, Hiruzen placed 5 fingers on his stomach as he pulsed his chakra. The next moment a seal appeared on Naruto. What is this? This is the 8 tetragram seal, one of the most powerful seals in existence. And the 9 tails is sealed inside. Naruto's eyes widened. After a few moments of overreacting. So, I just have the fox inside of me. Yes, and trust me when I say, the 4th Hokage is a very wise man. He wouldn't have done this if he did not believe in you, Naruto. The 4th Hokage believed in me. Me, a fall person. But I'm average, and nothing special. You're more special than you think, Hiruzen said as he placed a hand on Naruto's head. So, are you okay with this new information that has been dropped in your lap? A lot has happened to you tonight. I guess I'll deal, said Naruto. But you're right, it is a lot. Hiruzen roughly is here. From now on, things are going to become even more dangerous. You're now a ninja, so you're going to have to be a lot stronger to be prepared and deal with the outside world. Are you ready for that? Yeah, I'm ready, said Naruto, with a grin on his face. Time skip. Expected reaction, Naruto thought, as he knew the old man would act like that. He told him that he would not lie, and he told him about the fox, yet he wouldn't happen to mention that his parents was, well, 2 important people. Well, especially his father. Well, Naruto wasn't surprised by now. At least tonight was a good night. He got some new idea that he wanted to try with his fusion of chakra and magic. The scroll of sealing was easy to copy. He had the ability to do so just a few seconds after Iruka arrived. He will start working on that soon. For now though, today has been a long day. He should go home and get some sleep. Tomorrow was going to be a big day, he thought to himself. As he felt no one around watching him, he erased himself and reappeared a far distance away as he went to his apartment. Later that night, as Naruto was sleeping on his bed, someone snuck inside. Yes, someone was able to sneak inside his apartment. Not just one person though. 2, to be exact. As those 2 people snuck and entered in, it did not take them too long to stand over Naruto's bed, as they were just standing there watching him, looking at him as he slept. As one of them reached down, their hand moving down toward his throat. But guys, be and subscribe right here. If you want to see next part and do, like, subscribe, comment down below, and turn on that bell notification so you posted. Remember, share to all of your friends in your social media platform. And also guys, don't forget to stay tuned for the rest of the what ifs coming your way. I hope you guys enjoy each and every one of them. So without further ado, or wasting no more time, what do you say we get the hell out of here? See you guys soon. Peace.